Thich Om writes about the outstanding liberty in spirituality. The idea of revolution in spirituality. The new consciousness, a real danger to politics? Religion, if we look at history, has always been a trigger for armed conflict. The obvious reason lies in the subtle concepts of freedom postulated by the respective religious communities. However, the various forms of state sovereignty have always succeeded in keeping society's understanding of these concepts of freedom superficial. The freedom hidden in the deeper values of such religious texts has been confined within the cage of the respective form of government. Intellectual enslavement through creation stories. The spiritual subjugation occurred, largely unnoticed, with almost unimaginable perfidy. It began with the various creation stories that burden us, humankind in general, with an, often unspoken, inherited guilt, which introduced the perception of an unpredictable God who, as in the tragedy of Adam and Eve, punishes natural curiosity and thirst for knowledge with expulsion from paradise. Unconditional obedience is demanded. This is how fascist systems are established. Alleged security and comfort are exposed as lies. It is indeed evident that blind, almost fanatical, soldierly subservience is demanded here. For those who internalize that absolute love for creation knows no judgment, no sins, no guilt, a true abstraction. Now, a crucial factor must be considered here: human opportunism, not to say greed. For although it is crystal clear that true happiness, joy, salvation, that is, a true internalization of sacred truths, necessarily and inevitably means a complete rejection of all state-run, all consumer-oriented, earth-destroying power systems. Despite this being obvious, people cling to consumption, to purported security, to apparent convenience. New freedom of consciousness. This has been the prevailing view until now. But now, one could say, after millennia of development, a powerful institution that has so far resisted this insight tooth and nail, always considering itself the antithesis of religiosity, declares that humankind, by its very nature, must assume responsibility, that the human spirit is truly divine. This institution, namely science itself, postulates conscious responsibility for one's own life. The name of this scientific finding, neuroplasticity. And not merely responsibility, the shaping, the manifestation of a conscious, happy life in freedom is described. A clear negation of societal consensus. There is, therefore, confirmed by science, the possibility of fundamentally changing oneself as a human being, of shedding the life in which one feels trapped, like old clothes, and moreover, this shift towards the positive, towards happiness, towards complete freedom and freedom from fear, is clearly the stated goal of this new ethic. This insight, this realization, this foundation of knowledge and action lies so deep that it shakes the very foundations of every form of government. For with this knowledge emerges freedom from fear, libertarian self-responsibility. A person with this knowledge is lost to the prevailing system of logic. The power structures are gripped by stunned fear. Here we can observe, so to speak, an increasing frequency that is eroding the very foundations of every political system. This frightens those on the other side, those who constantly try to manipulate through fear as a weapon. Such immense fear that it is almost impossible to put into words. They, the powerful structures, sense it intuitively, and tremble. They become more than nervous. They try to undermine, suppress, and distort it aggressively. Attempt at dilution. As described in another article, one countermeasure is an overabundance of enlightenment, thus attempting to negate its immense, sacred significance. A futile endeavor, time works in favor of love. We are in a stage of human consciousness that allows all thoughts, everything can and will be freely expressed, unlike in past centuries. But this ultimate truth, once proclaimed, will also be recognized, and that signifies the end of this era of dualism. End of Kali Yuga. It is not surprising that the oldest sacred documents of humanity precisely enact this transition. The Vedic scriptures, first written down 6,000 years ago, were transmitted orally, spiritually, for an unknown period before that. Because they were internalized and lived, describe the end of the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, in our time. All signs point to it, all the images we are allowed to see confirm it. A wave of consciousness opening to the one truth of love exists. Suppression of the thought of love. We recognized the first signs of this in the love and peace movement of the 1970s, where, however, the contrasts were perhaps portrayed too controversially. Moreover, at the same time as the Eastern Enlightenment approach, drugs, familiar to us today, also entered society more openly. One move, a surefire countermeasure by those in power, was the criminalization of the hippies, the peace movement, and the love and peace ideal, thus simultaneously a general suppression of every deeply internalized thought of love, and therefore freedom. Everything proceeded very superficially. Quantum mechanics and faith. In our time, 50 years later, we stand on a completely different foundation. The knowledge of neuroplasticity, the influence of individual consciousness on reality, that is, the possibility of shaping one's life to one's satisfaction, but above all, the necessary mindset that leads to this, a mindset that profoundly transcends the fundamental principles of all faiths, is no longer reserved for a few poorly dressed, hashish-smoking layabouts. Outstanding. Spinoza and Rumi are figures whose ideas can be taken seriously. Neville Goddard, Alan Watts, and also Thich Om are representatives of a new way of thinking that, at its core, cannot be attacked, because it fully respects the individuality of each person. You are the center of the universe, and it is up to you to create or change it. This renders all worldly constraints based on societal logic irrelevant, even absurd. Turning away from all manipulation. The idea of enlightenment is thus the realization that we can change the world with our thinking, our thoughts, our inner, truthful attitude, but this can only be truly understood and applied if one fully embraces it. This automatically means turning away from all forms of manipulation, from laws, regulations, and even imposed, manipulated habits within the social system. Out of pure, sacred reason. All-conquering reason. This idea of reason, it can only be stopped by distraction. Or by vilifying those who come closer to it, as in the 1970s. Fear and distraction. Two important tools of power structures, as has happened many times. Ultimately, with the crisis surrounding a supposed virus, these are the only remaining options, otherwise, the powers that be are forced to watch helplessly as humanity awakens. Last furious attempts. What will almost certainly happen, then, is something that will cause people to focus once again on their immediate daily lives, on a non-existent outside that fills them with correspondingly terrible fear. I dare say, with a mocking smile, that, after the COVID crisis, an alien landing will be the excuse for far-reaching measures designed to permanently prevent awakening. But if this invasion were real, it would certainly bring precisely this realization. We smile quietly. Loss of voice. The fact remains, however, that every awakened person represents one less voice for consumerism, politics, and the dualistic lifestyle itself. A gigantic horror vision for the powerful, who watch their followers helplessly crumble. They no longer have access to consciousness, they can no longer generate the pressure of fear because it has been exposed as a mere illusion, one that simply produces, on an ongoing basis, fear-filled dramas. Despair of the powerful. This is the real effect of the opposing system of thought, which, through pure reason leading to an understanding of the structures of the physical world, reveals the shabbiness, the absurdity, the truly horrific effects of the existing system of judgment in social life. Anyone who truly understands will no longer participate in this blatant nonsense. The worst thing that can happen to the existing power conglomerate is to be recognized as insignificant. On the path to true freedom. So we are undoubtedly on the path to peace, to happiness, to an indescribable freedom from all systems. On the path to a self-realization such as only gods can conceive and realize. The universes are ours, the galaxies join hands. A very real danger for the existing power structure. Even if the defensive reaction of those so beset by the When apparent insight is relativized, the installed system will defend itself aggressively and physically. Conclusion. The times ahead, probably several years, promise to be somewhat turbulent as the old order bids a noisy, lamenting farewell, making space for the new earth, the realization of interbeing, of oneness. Ultimately, it will transcend, lead, and dissolve itself. Despite all the angry and even desperate individual cries, the transformation will occur in love and peace, in tranquility and mindfulness. For behind it all lies absolute love. If you think this text is worth it, share with others. Join. Like. There are many books of Thich Om in the net, read it. Visit our website 12words.de.